wanted to make a YouTube video sampling the fish that I catch.
What?
Like just letting go and just anything that pops in my head, going and doing it. So I was going to go catch a fish.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's flopping around, I was going to be recording it and use it as like percussive elements in a track.
That's crazy. I mean, I did a whole song for Dr. Pepper with just a Dr. Pepper can.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I have like 4 or 5 placements with Dr. Pepper. And one of them, the brief, they wanted me to use. So I used the can for the snare, can for the kick drum. Like everything was in the hi-hats with can, you know, and I made a beat off of it, you know. And yeah, it ran about 2 or 3 years ago. It's pretty cool.
Did like the video that they used it with?
Mm-hmm. I got the video.
It was like integrated with the video. So like the person watching the ad would know that the sounds were from a Dr. Pepper can?
I mean, no, but it was
just like behind the scenes integrity.
The ad was the can version of Dr. Pepper. So they just hope that, you know, people would make the the correlation.
Hopefully.
I don't even think it was a Dr. Pepper can. It might have been Coke or something. I don't know. I don't remember.
Goodness.
But yeah, let's get into this, man. All right, so for the first couple of these, I'm gonna read it out, and then eventually, I'm sure I'll memorize this. Okay?
Hopefully.
All right. This is the NIWSpace Podcast. My name is Ife, and
my name is Jackson,
where we talk to you through the new space of the music industry, navigating the ups and downs of being an artist in this new day and age, from the perspective of the producers and mix engineers you work with every day.
Which we happen to be, right?
Yes.
That's crazy. What's the coincidence that that's what the podcast is about, and that's what we do? That's crazy.
I love it.
Why wouldn't a producer be called an artist?
I think that's changing now, right?
Right. You're seeing more tracks come out like, he'll drop, or DJ Khaled will release an album featuring these other artists.
Yeah. And even in different genres like David Guetta, Zed, you know, they're producers, right? But they're artists. What's his name? Calvin. One of my favorite songs from him is called Slide, with Frank Ocean's on it, I think. Calvin, I can't remember his name right now. But if you're on a platform where you can comment, please put it in the comments if you know the artist that I'm talking about, the producer that I'm talking about. He's super dope. But I think that's changing, and that's probably been happening for like maybe the last 10 years, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, the production carries 75% of the song.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
Not too many people are listening to acapellas, but you know, a big portion of the world is listening to just instrumentals, music.
But you know what's crazy though? If you really think about it, I think that in the early days of the music industry, it was a producer's world, because the producers were the artists, people who were writing the songs. It was bands. It was nothing but bands. There's no such thing as solo artists. It was all bands, right? Or you go back hundreds of years, Mozart, Beethoven, they were producers, right?
Yeah.
You know, and they wrote the music and they told you how to do it and everything. They made the beat, you know.
They made the 2-track.
They made it. So I think we went from being like a producer world to, and then it shifted to a more artist, you know, floodlights on the artists and the producers out behind the curtains type of world.
Yeah.
But we're coming back.
Good.
We're coming back. And I'm
Soon
here
it's
for
going to be featuring the engineer.
It's already featuring the engineer. I'm telling you, man. Like, look, check this out. There are a lot of people now who are artists, fans, who might know who Tizio is. Or who might know who
Mike Dean. He's a
Mike Dean.
That's a big name.
Right? Mike Dean's with Travis Scott, right? Or who else? I can't think of his name right now. I can literally see his face. He's Justin Bieber's guy. And he's on Twitch a lot. And he's dope, great personality. You know what I mean? Talks about the art a lot. When he's talking about mixing, you would think that he was talking about writing a song because that's how he looks at it, and I love that. So I think over time, even engineers are going to become more the thing, as well. Not replacing, but alongside.
Right. So there is a line. I feel like there is a fine line when it comes to producing versus engineering.
Mm-hmm.
I deal with a lot of people that want me to dabble in like vocal production when I mix their song.
Okay.
Vocal stutters, reverb sweeps. When is it purely engineering? Like just, adjusting the logistics of the track to be soothing on the ears?
I think it can be purely
technical versus creative.
I think it can be purely engineering when you know exactly that's what you need or are looking for. If, as an artist, if you have a vocal producer on the team, right? You got somebody who's great with making sure the vocal takes are like excellent. You got somebody who's like got a great ear for harmonies and how to arrange those, vocals to where like, hey, on the chorus we're gonna double your lead vocals on the left and right. We're gonna do an octave up and an octave down in the middle, and then put the harmonies on the sides. If somebody's doing that for you, then that's great. If you don't have that, then maybe you should be looking for an engineer who has that kind of experience, who can even send it back to you like, hey, I can make this sound big by itself with like micro shift or these plugins, the widening plugins, with Haas effects or whatever. But if you go back in the booth and send me like 4 more tracks, and here's what I want you to do. I want you to give me an octave up, an octave down, and an alto version like this on the left and the right. When you get done, send it back to me. I'll be waiting, and it's gonna blow your mind. I think you'll be very happy with it.
Yeah. So give me like a when you talk about vocal production, you're talking about like directing the vocal performance.
Yes.
When I hear the word vocal production, I mean more so like using the vocal as an instrument, creating, I don't know, more so like effects, ear candy. Is that different to you? Or do we have our minds on 2 different definitions? What do you think of vocal production when you hear that?
I think they're both. I'm able to do both things, right?
Yeah.
And you are too, because I've heard your stuff. But the what you're talking about is kind of like more on the technical side, right? I think it's still creative, but you kind of have to know where those tools are. If you're going to do a stutter edit, are you going to use Isotope's stutter edit plugin? Or are you going to, literally go in and chop the regions up and, do it that way?
Right. So I guess in order to be creative, you have to be technical up to a certain point.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
you have to have the skills to experiment.
Mm-hmm.
If you walked into a science lab right now, you wouldn't be able to go have fun creating new chemical compounds and stuff.
Absolutely.
So
you just made me think about something, and we talked about this before. I think one of the major things is, hey, as an artist, you have these things rolling around in your head, and I know artists who like they almost run mad, like literally like lose their minds because they hear it in their heads, but they have no idea how to bring it out or even how to express it to somebody else to help them bring it out. Right. And then what happens with that is, it gets stuck. They get frustrated or whatever the case is, might move on past it. I think a vocal producer can hear like jargons, just say it out loud. Like, what are you hearing? Like describing whatever words you can, and they can interpret it. Right. I can give you an example of that. Right. Crazy story. Well, not that crazy, but it's very interesting. I had a client come in, and there were some drums that she was like, she was looking. I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, they sound like high heels, like those drums right there. Not the whole kit, but one part sounds like high heels. Like, what's high heels? And I'm thinking like, oh, okay. what the heck? And then I think about it, and I just think about like, you know, walking around and a bunch of women like in high heels walking in front of me, behind me, whatever. And then like, yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, if you really think about it, it can be very piercy and stuff like that. So I immediately was like thinking, I translated it like, all right, she's talking about these drums. I pull up the EQ and it's peaking around 3K. I can see 3K
Yeah.
is like really going crazy. So I started, with a nice little peak band, and then Pro Q3, I also turned it into a dynamic band and brought that threshold down even more. And then I also used a filter and rolled off some of what was going on, like just straight filter,
Yeah.
low pass. By the time I was and saturated it because it kind of got a little bit, woolly or whatever.
Mm.
And she was like, her eyes got big. I'm like, that's perfect. Don't touch it. Right there. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we started from high heels, stilettos.
Right. Right. I've had a client, Jeff's brother actually, one time got back to me.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds smoky.
Smoky.
What?
I haven't heard that one before.
And I imagine that as mud. And that ended up being the case. But yeah, that having the skills to essentially, translate.
Yeah.
And it's not their responsibility to know the terms, but it is yours. And ultimately, as an artist, when you're looking for the right match of a producer or an engineer, that's the relationship and standard that you need to have going about it.
Mm-hmm.
It should be a pure means of a just easy flowing, seamless transaction between what you want out of the song and the producer or engineer's ability to provide that.
Awesome.
So, but the whole point of this episode is not about that. It's it's obviously in the same broad topic.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole point about this episode is music industry versus music business.
Yes. Music industry versus music business. And then Jackson, you might be thinking like, or maybe you, Jeff, what is the difference between the music industry versus the music business? Isn't industry business and business industry? To clarify that a little bit, the music industry is an entity by itself. It's one thing. It's that, right? And the music industry in any country you are in, we'll use America, is already established. It has a way that things are done. It has laws in place that are specific to music, like the Music Modernization Act, for instance. This got passed a couple of years ago. Those are the things that govern it. And all the labels that we know, like Interscope and Sony and Warner Brothers, they are the big voices in this music industry. As far as an artist is concerned, the music industry is something that a lot of artists look to become famous. They,
Right.
And with that fame comes adoration, love and acceptance and
Glory.
the glory, right? That's the music industry. Music business is exactly what we just called it. Music business. You can take music out of that, right? And you can put in anything you want. So if it's not music business, it could be pharmaceutical business or grocery business or car wash business or
It's
literally
just business.
it's just business. And what do you do? What does a business do? Business, you have a product
or service.
or service that you sell, you offer in exchange for money, right?
Correct. And the two definitely overlap. So I'm
Mhm.
sitting over here thinking about like Disney,
Mm-hmm.
the animators, or the directors, the actual cameramen.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably employed by Disney,
Mm-hmm.
right? But are they on the industry side or business side?
They're in the industry. They're part of a machine.
So if I doing exactly what I do now,
it's a business still, but yeah, that's
if
what
I
the
do,
overlap
if
is.
I'm doing exactly what I do now, mixing music for people,
Mm-hmm.
and then I go work at a studio inside Atlantic Records,
Mm-hmm.
doing the exact same thing,
Mm-hmm.
have I now crossed over into the industry?
Will you be doing the exact same thing? Will they allow you to really work with your artists the way
In a
that...
perfect world, what if?
In a perfect world, what if... You know what? Let's go back to your producer side,
Okay.
right? As a producer working with an artist, you guys have all the free reign to create whatever you want, however you want. Once you get into the industry, right, and you sign to a label, right, or a distribution deal, and they want you to create a certain type of music, a certain type of sound, you're going to have to make that.
Right.
Right? A lot of times they impede on your creative freedom.
Right.
To do the kind of music that you want to do.
Very true. Yeah, so it's just that big machine,
Mm-hmm.
that massive one.
Yeah.
So I guess there's just like a lot of questions are rising up in me about the independent artist.
Yeah.
Somebody like Russ.
Russell Simmons?
Just Russ, the rapper.
Oh, Russ.
Yeah.
I know Russ. Yeah.
So to me, he seems like he's against the industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's against the big labels. Is he selling something? Is he on the business side?
Yeah, absolutely. He has a huge... I've been following him for a while, and I love him. To get him on the podcast would be a dream come true, I think, and we should work on that. But Russ has been approached by labels. I believe he's been offered... I remember one of his posts, he said that he was offered over $1 million, maybe $1 million, but he believed that he could raise that money with his fans. And he was asking his fans to be investors in his music. And I love that. And I think that when we get to our next episode, which we're going to be talking about specifically about artists and how they can raise money and make money in this day and age. That's why it's called this NIWSpace, this NIWSpace Podcast. How they can make money, right? We're going to talk about that in the next episode. And we probably should use Russell as a case study for that.
Yeah.
I know a lot, but just to kind of like touch on it a little bit, he's still entertaining opportunities from labels, but they have to be on his own terms. You know, he's not going to let any label, just kind of like,
right. Right. He's gonna
take advantage of him.
If he were to sign, he'd be the boss.
Yeah.
And there are those situations, but when you're nobody and the label's going to have to create you,
mm-hmm.
all you've got is a talent, then you're kind of more at the mercy of them being nice to you, them liking what you do. What if you don't end up having the output that they want?
Mm-hmm.
That's when they're going to start putting down that iron fist.
The good thing is that in this day and age, everything that we need to be successful in any part of the music business that we're in is already set for us. It's already there for us. You and I, as producers and engineers, artists, as performing artists, touring artists, songwriters, everything's already there. And the labels are scared that we have these type of resources to us now,
Right.
And I'm praying and hoping that we are able to convey that message over, to everyone about how to go about that,
Right.
the ups and downs of it too.
And the beginning of what a record label is, the beginning of the whole purpose of it is you used to have money to manufacture physical records, merchandise.
Vinyls is still expensive.
Yeah. All that, the physicality of what it used to take
Mm-hmm.
versus now what? You can get away with $300. You can end up with some kind of computer,
Mm-hmm.
a mic. Well, now they just got mics that just plug straight in that are
Mm-hmm.
actually good,
Mm-hmm.
like these.
Yeah. We're
But
not using it that way.
yeah, we're not.
We're still like XLR. We're purists here.
Yeah, we gotta have control over that
Yeah.
quality.
Yeah.
Just why would we not have the best?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We gotta have it. But when we gotta go on the run,
For sure.
quickly just bring a laptop and we're set.
We're gonna. This is the first time you're hearing this, but next year, you and I were gonna go to NAM together.
Let's do it.
NAM is out in California.
Yeah.
And it's like a conference for music professionals,
Sweet.
producers, engineers, and everything in between. And we're gonna take these mics with us. It'd be fun.
Is it like a convention type thing?
It's like a convention.
Like, is there gonna be like booths?
It's gonna be booths.
So
Yeah.
would we have a booth with the podcast set up?
No,
with an open chair and people as they're walking?
We wouldn't be able to afford that. It's crazy expensive to get the booths. Companies like the stuff that is here.
I know.
Like,
Okay, now I know exactly what you're talking
the big
about.
companies, the ones with the booths.
Yeah.
But we can, in our hotel, before we go out into the actual thing, we can do, if we're there for 3 days, we can set up with the USB, right? And just kind of like, do a quick podcast.
Yeah, and there's no reason we couldn't go with the camera with clip-on mics and do like a moving podcast type thing.
So the whole point is like when it's needed, you can go without all the fancy stuff.
Right, and that goes all the way back around to record labels and their original purpose versus what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
It's still like they've still won over a lot of people's minds where if I could just get the attention of a label.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you're going to get a big sum of money up front,
Mm-hmm.
which you owe back.
And a lot of exposure up front too, right?
Right, and they're going to have the tools to be able to properly deploy that money, market it. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea personally, but there is certain, when I look at it from my situation, I would hate to just give away my control and
story time,
influence
story
over
time.
myself.
There was a duo, right? An R&B duo.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use their name, but they were coming up really big. They were independent at the time, and they released a song that people were going crazy over. Labels were, like hounding them.
Yeah.
One of the biggest labels out there, calls them to sign them, brings them to the office, top floor executive office, and like, hey, we want to sign you, whatever it takes. We need you guys on the label, right? Tells their best lawyers to stop everything they're doing, come up to the office. They order them steaks. They're taking good care of them. They offer them a huge advance, all that fun, all that crazy stuff. Jackson, they sign with this label, and they immediately get shelved. And the reason why the label signed them, right? And by the way, that's what their careers died. The reason why the label signed them was because they already had a similar artist on their roster that they already invested a lot of money in.
So it was more like an insurance act. Like they were protecting.
They were protecting their investment
Right,
that
right,
they already
yeah,
had.
yeah.
They didn't want a rival label to get them and be able to, compete with theirs. So they they signed these guys and shelved them.
Dang.
And before
that's
you knew it,
savage.
they were done. They never released
scary.
anything of note. I believe one of them became a pretty good, prominent songwriter, whatever, but they never took off.
Yeah.
That's how labels look at you. They look at you as an asset,
An object.
And if you're not making money for them, if it's not numbering right,
You know how stressful that would be?
bruh.
I can't imagine the stress. And then like there's only a few, a small portion of people that can still be creative in that environment
Mhm.
with that stress and with that attention.
You know what? Here's another thing, Jackson. There are tons of artists on Spotify and Apple Music that are doing great numbers. right? Great numbers. Studies have shown that half of the great numbers that we've seen or whatever are fake. Okay? So let's just cut all that stuff in half. The other half, there's a lot of money going behind them to push those numbers to be where they are. So a lot of times to get those numbers, a lot of artists are in a deficit as far as money in their pocket is concerned.
Right.
Okay? There's that. Now, the ones that don't have to do that, the biggest ones who are really making, like Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Jay-Z whenever he decides to drop, Drake, Kanye, all those guys, they, even in the country, what's his name? Give me like two country artists.
Morgan Wallen.
Post
Malone's going country.
Post Malone's going country. Like, those guys are doing great, but I kid you not, if you really sat down and looked at it, the number of artists that are doing great and making money, and let's use the benchmark as a good paying IT role job. A good paying IT job will give you about $120,000, $130,000 a year. How many artists are making $120,000 to $130,000 a year off of their music, even though they have millions of streams and people know them? Not a lot. If they were to stop music right now and go back to school and learn IT and whatever, they would make a lot more money. They would be a lot happier and secure financially than they are right now.
Yeah. That's
because
crazy. Yeah,
they're chasing the music industry side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's looking at the assets they have, the things that they have, and capitalizing on it to really make money on the business side.
Right, which you can still do as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can still become satisfied with your creative desire doing the business side. And ultimately, I think the business side is more fulfilling in the sense it allows you to kind of control your trajectory better.
Mm-hmm.
You're not waiting on that lottery ticket in hopes. I mean, your success is more dependent on your work ethic than it is on like a massive company's approval of how cool and entertaining you are.
The example I just gave earlier, even if you're massive and cool to the label, you might be deemed a threat. You know what I mean? So I feel like ultimately speaking, hey guys, if you haven't picked up the cue yet, we're not really about the music industry side of things.
Yeah.
Are we? We're not.
I wouldn't advise it. There's a healthier way to go about being an artist and getting yourself out there. And at the end of the day, start a business, find what you're good at, develop that LLC, sell a few services, release your music on the side. If a label or something ever comes at you, sign it underneath your LLC. Protect yourself.
All right, let's jump over a little bit to some of our personal, journeys. We hinted it earlier, but let's talk about you, Jackson, and your experience with the music industry, your experience with the music business, and where you are now.
Yeah, so I essentially was on my way to get signed, had a meeting set up with Columbia Records, and I did sign, actually, I guess technically a record deal with my management company at the time, but it all got hit with the big pandemic. Doors shut, things slowed down, and that's when I started realizing I've got something here, I've got a skill here, and started exploring ways to monetize that and share it with the world. And by God's grace, I didn't go get signed because it was also at a time in my life where I wasn't prepared to handle. My music was prepared to handle success, but every other aspect of my life was not prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm extremely grateful that did not happen. It was almost out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
And now share this experience and tell people, and hopefully they'll listen, that it's best to start trying to do things on your own and developing your skills, the way you're promoting them, advertising them, and you'll become more of a tool to yourself. You can utilize your skills and not have to depend on some big institution. To me, it's invaluable to avoid that and have control over basically your life. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that why you would technically want to become famous and rich? Is for ultimate freedom and independence?
Absolutely.
And to be set apart?
You know, as you're talking right now, like your story, your journey, we've talked about it in a lot more detail.
Yeah.
And like, I totally respect it and I love it. And what I'm getting from what you're saying also is that even if you do decide down the road that you're going to do something with a label, it's not going to be a situation where they can own you. It would be a partnership.
Right.
Right? We just talk about Russell. I feel like if he hasn't already, he's probably still going to partner with labels, but it's going to be a partnership, not an ownership.
Right. And it, like, for probably a specific thing. Like, you see more and more artists signing like deals with
Distribution.
EPs, even singles.
Right.
So yeah, it's changing, especially up there. This wasn't a thing. Like, I wonder who the first truly independent artist was.
Ugh.
I want to search that up. I'm just curious what it.
I feel like there's always been independent artists. You mean like first big independent artist?
The first person to have a successful music career with
Okay.
no help from an industry institution.
I feel like there's even a lot of them, to be honest with you. I feel like.
Michael Jackson signed?
No, of course he was. Michael Jackson was signed. Columbia, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not.
Which is, they're all owned by Sony at the end of the
I might be
day.
making that up because you said Columbia for yours. While you're looking that up, I will share a little bit about my story as far as the music industry and the music business, right? I started out as an artist when I was 17, and you haven't heard this before, but I released an album. It was a Christian rap album, Jackson.
Okay. That's good.
And I used to go by. Should I tell you what my rap name was?
Yeah.
Do you want me to put it out there?
Why not?
Jackson's embarrassing, man.
Everything about our past is embarrassing.
Jeez.
That name, whatever it is, I'm about to know too, so I'm very excited.
Oh my God.
What's cool about this moment is being captured on camera is I don't know. I'm kind of just like rolling around in it, and I'm about to know, and I'm excited to know. So yeah, all right. I'm ready.
My rap name was E Breezy.
Random rap name generator sounds like that came out of, but
Oh, this is before AI, dude. This is before,
you know what? You know what the reality is? If you had blown up, it would have become cool.
Yeah,
It would have become
absolutely.
a like household name.
Absolutely. I'll probably
That's how it
a
works.
feature with Snoop and like, you know, that's my boy E Breezy for shizzle or something like that. But okay, so I did that when I was 17 or 18, and I was completely independent. My dad paid for all my studio time, and I worked. I made all my beats on a Korg Triton. Right, and to get the beats out in the session, I would solo each instrument that I did, and the recorded audio, and then we would arrange it in the DAW. Right, I did 6 songs, and I started performing them at my church, and they were such a hit that I started getting invited to like sister satellite churches. And I went on tour. I didn't realize it. I went on tour. I went to Arkansas. I went to Atlanta. I went to Oklahoma. I was all over Dallas. I was in Houston. I was in San Antonio. I was everywhere. Right? I still have friends till this day that I met when I was on tour. And I sold over 5,000 copies at
Right.
$10 a piece.
At 17? This all
At
happened at
17,
17?
18.
Wow.
And I think about it now, I made more money off of that EP, really 6 songs EP, than I know a lot of artists with great numbers on Spotify are making now. Anyway, that's not where I was really going with it. But that was then. And then over the years, I went to school. I stopped making music for myself or whatever. And then I started a band called Alias Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Alias Brown was, think of like Black Eyed Peas, but a little bit more so. Like Alias Brown means Tony Tone kind of thing. And we started growing a pretty good fan base in Dallas. Got approached by a label that was owned by an NBA player. He was a silent owner of it. And that label was a subsidiary of Sony. And I remember, I got to stay at an NBA player's house. In he was playing for the I'm not gonna say what team, but
It almost came out.
It almost came out. Let's just say we were in California. Okay, I'll leave it at that. And we got a contract. I got this contract in the mail, in my email. And I get back and I show it to my attorney, and my attorney says, Put your tail between your legs and run. Just run. Do not sign this. The attorney, she wrote down, a bunch of responses to rebuttals, whatever. I don't know what they're called, but back to the label. And that was the end of it, because they realized that,
he got an inside scoop.
Yeah. I'll tell you, one of the things on that contract was that the studio time was going to be able to be open-ended.
Yeah.
Right? And they were going to be able to put whatever number they wanted. So I felt like it was one of the things, like, if we made so much money, they could call it like, all right, $50 an hour for studio time is what, whatever. That's what the label is going to be, putting towards that. Or they could call it $500 an hour if we made more money. So essentially they could zero us out at whatever point. And that was just one small item, like studio time. There was so many other things. They were recouping every dime that they spent, right? So and owned all the music, all the masters, and it was a lot of stuff. Didn't do it. And after that, I just never was interested in that again. Yeah. The band kind of like split out, short, not too long after that. I still work with a lot of the individuals from the band, and I love them like my family, because we traveled a lot, we toured a lot. Bands, they can be very tight like that, and we're still tight. But that was the case with that situation. Now, and then I became a music producer, because I was writing most of the songs in the band. And I had a drummer, I was on keys, I had a bass player, guitar player, and all these things. Now it was just me, so I was going to be like, I'm going to just do everything on the computer. That's how music production came along. Yeah. And then over the years, it became, man, I want this thing to sound great. And then the sound engineering side came. I literally stopped producing music for a while to become like the best engineer that I could become. Mm-hmm. And that's the side of the industry I'm in now. Yeah. Producer and engineer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually an awesome story. It's interesting. You talk about the whole revisions to the contract thing. Mm-hmm. And so when we got our contract reviewed, and same thing, there was a bunch of red flags. Mm-hmm. But we actually sent it back, and the 2 guys that I signed the deal with, I'm still cool with them to this day. Talk to them almost daily. So I got lucky. I signed the deal. I was super eager, because at this point, when the contract got presented, I was already we already had all the songs lined up. We'd already done multiple trips. It was all, everything was good. So the only thing left to do was get this contract figured out. So I was just like, I don't care what it says. I just want to sign it, which was stupid of me. We did get a round of revisions, which is ended up helping a lot. But yeah, I was in that mindset where I just wanted that quick fix. The only thing ready to go was my music. Everything else in my life, like I said, was just not ready for that.
For it.
And that's when, you know, God comes in and puts the fist down and isn't necessarily gentle. But like I said, beyond grateful.
I'm beyond grateful too.
Yeah.
For the same exact reason that you are. I wasn't ready either. It would have meant like traveling a bunch, being around a bunch of stuff that I probably wasn't ready to say no to temptation wise.
Right.
Whether it was, you know, women or drugs or all that stuff, right? And I just wasn't ready for that. And for a lot of people who are in the music industry is a very vulnerable industry. It's an industry that like really relies on your emotions, your vulnerability, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people want to do it and be in it without having to sell themselves, you know, mentally, or some people call it their soul, right? The music business is the way to do it because you're in complete control.
Right.
Right?
So we talked about, outside of this podcast, the music industry being dead, watered down. Does that mean more opportunity on the business side?
There's always opportunity. It's kind of like in if anybody out there is like trades stocks or options, or is into investing like that. Whenever it's a bullish market, you know, or whether the market is down or up, there's always a move to make. You know, if the market's up, you can sell. If the market's down, you can buy. And there's a lot of things you can do in between, right?
Right.
Same thing with the music industry, the music business. You know, we're in a very, very unique space right now, right? Because music, there are over 100,000 songs being released every single day. It's, what time is it right now? I don't have my watch on. It's 11:49. I usually have my watch on. It's 11:49. Right? So that's noon. So if we break it down, but in the next 15 minutes, from midnight till now, already 50,000 songs have already been released. By the time we do lunch and the day's over, another 50,000 songs would have been released. And that's happening every single day.
And every single one of those songs are probably not mixed well and potentially
most of them are not of not good quality. And most of them, over 80% of them, don't even have one stream, which means that the person who uploaded it didn't even go back in to check if it went up there correctly or if everything was okay with the upload. Right? So someone might look at it and be like, man, that's crazy. It's oversaturated. It's nonsense. Or somebody could look at it like, man, there's an opportunity for me to really, really shine through, right? If I'm consistent with the quality of my music, right? From the production to the post-production side of things. And if I'm consistent with being open and transparent with my potential fan base, I am going to stick through the crowd, and it's going to even be more special because I was able to come out of like a pool of a lot of stuff. If there was only like 100 songs released a day, for instance, that's nothing. And then if you came out and your stuff was just like mediocre, you know, people will probably just listen to the same 5 songs they listen to over and over again, right? But if your stuff is really, really good and sticks out in that world, you would blow up. It's the same way in the oversaturated market. You will create enough of an audience to where, like that IT example, or having a computer job, or being an attorney, or any other cardinal professions, you can make more money than them in this music business.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and that's what our next episode is going to be about. How to really capitalize and make money
Now.
in this, you know, now.
Right now, where you're currently at.
Mm-hmm.
How to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for that episode because it's where my passion lies.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be like a business guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like something I would have wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it really allows you to go full circle as far as creating a skill and getting it out there. It's fun. It's like the ultimate board game. That's what it's like. I really enjoy it. It's like playing video games, you know? Sitting down at the computer doing your thing.
Yeah.
But I've got another question.
Mm-hmm.
So, artist development. There's a market for that out there right now.
Artist development. Okay.
Which side would that fall on?
It's firmly on both sides.
Because you're starting in the business side in hopes to sell off over to the other side. In my mind, when I think artist development, I think building up an independent artist,
Mm-hmm.
getting the numbers up, getting the sound quality up, getting like a sort of a package ready,
Mm-hmm.
and you take that package over to a record label
Mm-hmm.
and try to sell your refurbished product.
I think because labels already have that as part of their system, right?
But they don't know that the other people exist. I'm saying you're more like a broker. If you're developing, your hope would be to get in on the percentage of the advance, and then you'd
Well,
leave.
that's the industry side of it, right? But on the music business side, the independent music business side of it, if you develop an artist, you can have your own agreements with that artist. So maybe a lot of times it's usually the managers is doing the artist development. 20%, 25%, 15%, whatever the case might be, right? Because it depends on how much of that pie you're getting. As an independent artist, you're getting to keep a 100% of whatever revenues coming in. On the industry side, you're looking at 4%, 5%.
That's becoming an employee.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of
So
the whole reason you're doing this.
I know my math is not the greatest in the world, but would I rather get 5% of $10 million? What's 5% of $10 million? That's $500,000, right?
No idea. Yeah, half a
$500,000,
million. There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah. Or would I rather get 100% of $1 million?
That's a hard one, man. I don't know, because I'm really thinking about it like,
And guess what?
I don't need that much.
If you keep 100% of $1 million, because you've done all the legwork, all the little groundwork, you can write off a lot more on your taxes and keep more of that money.
And you'll be aware of how to make it happen again too.
Yeah, but that $10 million, the label has already written you off as an expense.
Yeah, you are an expense.
You are a write-off. You know what I'm saying? Everything that you would have been able to write for yourself off, the label's going to write all that stuff off.
Right, and say you do get that 5% of 10 million, and the label decides to drop you.
Mm-hmm.
You have no knowledge of anything that went on besides you making music.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to repeat it. The most important
And
part
then don't
about
you still
making
owe the money too? You still owe money, right?
That's something I was wondering. So if I got an advance for $1 million and didn't deliver, and the label dropped me, would I have to go work at Chicken Express and pay them back that money?
Heck yeah. If you want to, you can't get signed by another label because that new label has to pay off that money. Right? Or
That's
you have
crazy.
to find that money and pay that money off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still owe that money. It's a bank, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Labels are banks with a little bit of swag. That's what they are.
Yep.
And connections and whatever.
Yeah. I guess
You're
and the
better
whole
off
point,
going to your community bank.
what's the point of getting a lot of money if I think your ability to manage and manage revenue and have recurring revenue, like learning ways to cause it to repeat is way more important than just a big lump sum of money.
I mean, people just fall for it, dude. I mean,
if somebody was like, "Hey, I'll sign you for $10 million right now," I'd read the contract.
I would do it immediately.
You would?
$10 million?
But they get to change your hairstyle. You're gonna get a few tattoos.
Can I be honest with you? $10 million in my pocket. I would do it.
Straight to Cuba.
I gotta go to Cuba.
No, I'd run.
No. Whoa, just run with the
I'd
money.
get on a jet ski and go straight from Florida to the Bahamas.
No, $10 million in my pocket. I am signing that contract. But you know the reason why I don't have to worry about it? Because nobody's getting that kind of offer.
Yeah, even the biggest of the big.
If a label is offering you $10 million,
and you're so valuable,
guaranteed you can make $100 million by yourself.
Yeah, and they're just, it's a sign that you're so valuable that you can do it.
Absolutely.
Yourself. It should be validation to just go do it.
You know what?
Yeah.
I take that back. If a label just came and offered me $10 million, I would call somebody that's starting that label in another label and say, "Hey, what don't I know that they know?"
Smart, yeah.
If you let me know, I'll let you in on some of it, and let's partner. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. Because there's something that they know that you don't know. It's like if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, we want to buy your house for $50 million. I'm gonna go find or surveyor or somebody to find out there's oil underneath my house, something. Because there's got to be something, right?
I'm about to drill.
You know, or maybe the Holy Grail is buried underneath my house or something or whatever. You know,
or Elvis Presley used to live
diamonds,
here.
Something. I got to find out what you know.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I would do. To be honest,
smart.
My knee-jerk reaction was like, "Take the money."
Yeah, it'd be crazy. I don't know, but ultimately, I think the smartest thing to do would be start a little business, try and monetize what you do have.
Okay,
and start there.
I'm a singer, right? I'm a singer. All I know how to do is sing. Right?
Okay, you've come to the right place. How can I help you?
And I've released 3 songs.
Okay.
They're on Spotify. They have a sum total of 1,000 listens. 75% of those are me listening to my own music.
Yes.
Right?
I know.
And I'm not making any money. Matter of fact, I spent money. I want to make money. Mr. Jackson, what should I do?
How's your social media look?
I don't like social media that much, Mr. Jackson. I'm really bad at it. Like, you know, I feel like it's just too much.
Are you out there doing live stuff, live performances? Is that something you're comfortable with?
I have in the past, but it's been a while.
First thing I'd like to see is some form of bi-weekly content.
Okay.
Wait, does that mean every other week or every week? Twice a week is what I'm trying to say. Okay.
I think that is twice a week. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
I think it's
twice a week. Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't matter. Completely doesn't matter.
So twice a week is what we're getting at. Okay.
I'd like to see there wouldn't be like just something I'd say that guy wants to buy something from you right now.
Uh-huh.
There's got to be like a step-by-step plan of action. So creating content and putting the light on yourself in that way is also going to help you see yourself from a different perspective, from somebody else's perspective, and help you identify what it is.
But Mr. Jackson, I don't like doing that.
Well, you're a musician. You do like doing it. Your dream is to be famous on the billboards.
I don't want to be famous. I just want to make money.
All right, then let's get on the content train. One way or another, businesses are having to do that.
Okay.
You don't have to put your face on it. You can literally film yourself sitting at the computer playing your music.
Okay.
Okay? There's little things you can do to dip your toe in the water. And if you don't want to make content, you're probably a rich personality. You've probably got a great personality under there, hiding under all that insecurity.
Yeah, yeah. My friends tell me that all the time.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, I'm role playing. This is not really me.
I'm starting to like fall into it. At the end of the day, this whole next episode's going to be about how to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got some things. Figuring out, I don't think it's necessarily you being an artist that's going to be your best shot at making money unless you're doing like live gigs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think your best shot is going to be the little technical things that surrounded you becoming an artist.
Let's flip
vocal lessons.
Let's flip it.
You
Okay.
can walk in a freaking School of Rock right now, and if they'll be like, all right, sing something, you're hired. And if you're not a criminal, there you go.
Okay.
Vocal.
Let's flip it. Let's flip the role play.
Okay. Let me see here. Okay. Mr. Ife,
Hi, how are you?
not good.
What's wrong? What's the matter?
I release a song a week,
Okay.
and I have 50 monthly listeners.
Hmm.
Probably totaling around 1,000 streams a month. As I'm releasing music, it's not growing. It's not. I need the money. I need something to come from it.
Okay.
What do I? Why is nobody coming and listening to my stuff if I'm continuing to release every single week?
Wow.
Isn't that what Russ did? And he's rich and famous.
So you're doing one thing that Russ did. Are you doing everything else that Russ is doing? Or what's your social media content like?
I post a picture of the album cover whenever I release a song.
Okay. Categorically, I can tell you right now that is not enough. Okay. What else are you doing? Is that all you're doing, social media wise?
Tell my friends about it.
Tell your friends about it. Okay.
Sometimes I'll post a snippet on my Instagram story of just the WAV file.
Okay. All right. And let me ask you a question. Do you feel like if you saw somebody else's Instagram story of a WAV file, or you saw a new album cover or a single cover every week, would you feel obligated to go listen to it?
No.
So why should anybody feel obligated to listen to your stuff?
I guess I'm entitled.
Yeah, you are. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to, well, let me ask you this other very important question. What's the quality of your music like? If I were to take 5 of your songs and I put it in a playlist with similar styles, right, of the biggest artists, biggest names, do you think it would hold up quality-wise? Be honest.
Yeah.
You think it would?
My recordings are bad, but I pay somebody to mix my music. $50 a song.
$50 a song. $50 is the value that you put on your music. Is that what you're telling me?
No. I just need a good price.
You need a good price. All right. Do you need a good price or you need a great song?
A great song. Wow. I never thought about it like that.
Okay. So now, I'm going to listen to your music real quick. All right. Give me like 20 minutes. 20 minutes go by. I just listened to your music, Jackson.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you. Your sonics are not there. Your stuff is not as good as Russell's or any other artist that's like really doing it. The quality is not there. So that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of room for improvement. Your social media and the way you engage with the world has to change. You have to be real. The way I'm talking, you're not going to take your album cover and put in front of me. You're going to tell me about it. Man, I just did this song, this week. It was really hard because life was hitting me all kinds of ways this week. I almost didn't do it, but I had to get it done because this song is so important to me. If you say that on your social media, I'm going to be more inclined to go listen to it versus you posting a graphic of the picture. Right?
Wow.
So that's one thing. Another thing is on the music, on the sound quality of it, I don't want to listen to Russell and then come back and listen to you, and it's like I feel like a drop in energy or a drop in quality.
Right.
You know, even if your lyrics are great and the beat is dope, if there's a drop in overall level of quality, I'm going to automatically feel like the whole song's not great. So that song that you spent all week fighting to get done and is so close to your heart, it's just got skipped by everyone.
Which, I'm going to go out of character here.
Yeah.
My product, the very thing I'm expecting to make me money, is not refined enough to do that thing.
Yeah.
That's it. And it all is going to come down to habits and the little things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hard to be in the top 1%.
It's not
Because there's
hard.
so many songs being released a day. If you release a properly mixed song, you're promoting it, you're excited about it, you're sharing how you feel about it with your friends, your family, your little fan base or big fan base. It's gonna be good.
And last and most important thing is that you as a personality, you have to have a story. To where
Correct.
even if people don't remember your name or the lyrics to your songs yet, they have to know, oh, that's that guy or that girl that there's this thing about them. I'm going to tell you a story about one of my clients that I have right now, right? He's a surgeon and a rapper. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, he's walked through these doors
Savage.
with scrubs on, 45 minutes removed from being inside of a human being with scalpels. Okay? And it's the most intriguing, interesting I've ever seen in my life. You just had surgery. There was guts and blood everywhere. And now you're in the booth going hard on the mic. It's crazy to me. And this client of mine, up until now, and it's changing right now as we speak, but wanted to keep both things completely separate and not talk about this other side of him. But I'm like, dude, you're the original, you're the OG Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre is self-entitled. His doctor was given to him, right, by the United States of America. The Board of Medicine gave him that title. It's recognized worldwide.
And this is somebody we're going to have on the show at some
We're going to
point,
have
right?
him on for sure.
And that's what the whole episode will be about.
Yeah.
And it'll be chiming in his experience and what that'll be super
Absolutely.
fun. I'm
so
super
there's
excited.
got to be something. I know, you're not all surgeons out there, but there's got to be something interesting about you. What's your drive behind music? The things that challenge you and make you want to stop, but you don't stop. That's a story in and of itself. People will buy into that.
Yep.
If they buy into that, they will buy your music. Right?
Correct.
On this podcast, we're creating stories. We're creating something that people can experience and go through and flow with us, the ups and downs. And in full honesty and transparency, we want people to buy into who we are and our expertise. Right? And it's going to work.
Yeah.
It's working already.
Absolutely.
Right? So there.
Bingo. Bullseye. How long was that?
Oh,
A minute.